What is going on, guys? It is your boy JimBF back again after 3 months, I think, of like not doing anything on here. Obviously, Battlefield 2042 has been an absolute shambles, so that's the main reason. But yeah, I'm back, and the reason I'm back, temporarily probably, is that Jordy did a video about the best Battlefield 5 players on PlayStation, and it was obviously kind of inspired from my part 1, and he rightfully pointed out that I never did part 2. For numerous reasons. I think I kind of pushed out in the end, and just didn't want to upset everyone, because if you're in the top 10 you're pissed that you're not higher in the top 10, and if you're in the top 5 you're kind of pissed that you're not top 3, and if you're top 3 you're pissed you're not the best, and if you're not in the top 10 you're pissed anyway because you weren't even mentioned. It's just an absolute slippery slope, folks, but it is what it is, and I thought I'd sort of I had obviously had a watch, give it a like, because I'm a nice guy. So without further ado, with the help of Microsoft Excel, what a lovely application that is. I sound like Lycan. Basically, Jordy's list of what he said and kind of the reasons for it. It's obviously just a summary. Go watch the full video, links in the description. Generally, I'm just going to reel off what he said just to recap. So I think number 10, he puts either Ghost, Solari or Ash. He kind of discussed why he obviously did this for certain players, sometimes more than others. But generally, inactivity and being late to the game, especially in Ghost's case. Obviously, he didn't actually play in the ESB tournaments, as far as I'm aware. He played BF Mena, obviously, but this is his video is based off ESB. Mine's going to be based off ESB in the same way. So we're not going to count CGL tournaments or BF Mena or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I was a bit confused in terms of the Ash thing, because I mean he's kind of played consistently the way through, although he did miss out season 2 of ESB and season 4. So I kind of get that consistency thing in terms of like he didn't consistently play all of them. But I thought it was fair in the ballpark. In general, this list is pretty decent. Like, it's not terrible at all. Like, it's definitely seen worse or whatever, or heard of worse takes. So 100%. So Denise in number 9. Lack of versatility. I tend to agree in terms of that's the knock. Obviously, within these kind of players, like, you've just got a hair split and stuff. So it's not really an indictment of these players. It's just like if you're going to think of a weakness to try and justify it, if you're trying to find out which one's better of the two when you sort of get close, then yeah, you start to split hairs and stuff. So for Denise, it would be really good assault, but kind of only an assault, and that's kind of why he talked about confidence, which I thought was an interesting point, because that sort of mental side of the game isn't talked about as much as it should be, because I think that's a huge area of success. It's one of the reasons why I rate a guy like Ash highly, for example, is the mental side of it. It's not all about shooting, so that kind of thing is quite important as well, in my opinion. Put me in number 8. Started off by talking about how much everyone hates me, which was lovely. Appreciate that. And so yeah, definitely toxic. I guess I'm kind of toxic because I've actually highlighted. I only just realised. I just remembered I did that. Yeah, you guys can figure out why I've highlighted Edison, Killer, and Deagle. You guys can figure that out. I'm not going to say anything, right? It's just, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't, and that's fine. And then he talks about how I can flex play any role, which is I think it's true. I think it's also kind of one of the reasons why you can be lower as well if you do that. The guys up top, like Saint. Actually, no, to be fair, Saint did play quite a few different classes, obviously. In competitive, he was a bit more of a... he turned into a bit more of a support guy at the end. But he was kind of medic early on. But yeah, sometimes when you can play all the classes, like, you end up playing... you end up kind of lowering your stock almost, because like a guy like Jordy obviously can play different classes, but he's kind of known as a medic. Killer was kind of known as a kind of assault guy, really. Deagle medic, Jobs assault. I guess I was quite known as a support player. But yeah, it depends on the team, depends on the players you've got around you and how comfortable they are. Same with Alpha as well. So we don't have to talk about that later. It's just the fact that he played quite a few classes. He played obviously Scout later on. Played medic early on, and then probably assault, and then support, and it's all of them. So it's that kind of same sort of thing, which I thought was fair. He talked about my RGL stuff, which is debatable, because thing is, when I played, I wasn't great, like, in terms of my personal mental health. So I was just a twat all the time, but it was also like an outlet as well. So I don't look back at that in a good way, but hopefully the people who played with me sort of knew that I wanted to win and not like that I was trying to be an arsehole. And then gun skill, compared to someone like Jordy or Sane, I don't think my gun skill is as good as theirs, which is fair. So same with Jordy for his, he didn't put himself, and for mine, I'm gonna put me as well. You guys can put that where you want. It's not really super important to me. I really cared about winning as much as I could, really, with the teammates and stuff that you have, and having a good time at the end of the day. So I did. That was the goal, was to win, and if you can't win, at least have a good time when you're doing it. At least have a good time losing it as much as you can, right? So that's fair enough. Moving on to Jubs, talking about his leadership. I was a bit confused about that because I won't lie to you, as much as I love Jubs, I wouldn't call him a leader. I don't remember that being the case. Again, my memory could be wrong. I don't remember that being the case necessarily, so I was a bit confused about that one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure because I think even within the French teams, he was like by far the best player, but also not like an in-game leader. He's not like an Ash type, right? He's not like, I don't know. He's not like vocal in that way. To me, Jubs is more of a pure sort of slayer assault guy. Like if you've got loud medics, supports, scouts that talk a lot, then just let Jubs do his thing, right? Like Jubs sometimes can be aggressive and get a 4-piece, sometimes can get aggressive and get killed quickly, but that's kind of how it goes for aggressive players. So he's kind of the opposite in Denise in the fact that Denise is like a slower paced AR, and Jubs was like a faster paced one, right? So the leadership one was a bit of a strange one to me, in my opinion. But yeah, pure assault sort of slayer guy. But yeah, I guess if you're going to split hairs, it's like he's not quite as good of like a medical support or scout. I don't think I've ever seen him play scout. As he is an assault player. And he was right to say, yeah, he's been playing for years. I was under the impression that it was Battlefield 5 players, so I'm not sure that's relevant, but we'll go with it. Obviously, you got to give the props to players like Jubs, Rubber, even guys like Phantom and stuff who've played for a long time. So yeah. Moving on to Deagle. Obviously another sort of veteran guy who's been playing for a long time. And yeah, just a pure slayer. And like I said, I think it is true. It's difficult to really pinpoint why, but you kind of when Deagle's on the other team, he's the sort of guy where that's the sort of focal point of the attack. So like in Rush at the end, it was like wherever Deagle's going, like the rest of the team's going, sort of thing. Generally speaking, he's not like doing a flank. You know, he's where Deagle's going is where the action's going to go down, right? So I kind of agree with Jordy's sort of take in terms of that's the player you look out for, watch out for. You have to sort of adapt to and assume he's going to make a big play at one time in the game, right? He's going to get a 3-piece and unlock the defense or whatever. So I agree. Frantic talked about his proning. It's just funny because I feel like players become known for certain things that is like kind of random, like you never expect. Like no, I don't think Frantic ever thought he'd be known as the prone player, but he was prone more than any other top player it was. So you kind of become that guy, right? It's like I guess I became the FG guy because I just played the FG a lot. You know, it's kind of like that sort of thing. So yeah. Denise became known as the guy with like 10 different accounts and stuff, right? So that kind of thing, which was kind of funny. But yeah, I do agree. Frantic's very smart. He's got a good mind for the game, and from when I teamed with him, he was like really. He was definitely vocal and like talked about what he wanted to do in terms of strategy and tactics and stuff. But I think the in-game leader role was always going to be overshadowed by a guy like Ash and Rubber as well. Rubber was so good as a coach, probably the best like mind that I know was Rubber in terms of Battlefield. Like if I'm ever confused about what I'm doing wrong, I'll just Ash Rubber and then we'll figure it out. You know, that kind of thing. So I think in a team without those guys, Frantic definitely would be, but I don't think from Chaos he was, because he doesn't need to be, right? You don't need to always unlock every aspect of your game. Like I used to in-game lead a lot for Tribe, right? And then far less so later on because I just wanted to focus on killing, right, as much as I could and becoming the best player I could. Which is another one of the reasons why someone like Ash might be lower down, is because they're focusing so much on where your teammates are, where the enemies is, strategy calls, calling out, general hyping up teammates, that kind of stuff, that you actually don't focus less on your aim and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of factors going in here. He put Killua in number 4, definitely 100% too easy carry. I mean, too easy was basically Killua, Edison, Al Harthix, those kind of guys. And if they weren't there, it wasn't really like, you know what I mean? Mocker as well, I throw him in. Yeah, Killua was one of those guys where it was like a pure slayer sort of thing. One of the hardest guys I've ever played against in terms of like actually being confident that you'll kill him first before he kills you. Like, I wasn't massively confident about that. Like, usually when I shoot people, I'm like, yeah, I've got them dead. Like, I wasn't ever really sure with Killua if I was going to just absolutely smoke him or not. So, although Jordy mentioned like playing every mode and stuff and every map, I won't disagree with every map, but every mode, it's difficult with some of these players because they couldn't play because of ESB region rules and stuff. Same with Edison. With NA and stuff, it was just that you can't guarantee that they'll be good at rush. Like, there was a lot of players who were really good gun skill wise but couldn't play rush to save their lives because they just didn't understand like the second, third layer tactics and stuff. And I'm not saying that Killua would be that kind of guy, but without proving it, it's difficult to say, right? So yeah, that's kind of one of those things that I kind of was like, again, I'm picking apart Jordy's video because it's a reaction video, but I think he's right in general. I don't doubt he would be good at rush and stuff as well. It's just if you've only really played T8, T5, that kind of fast-paced, respawny kind of game, it's a lot different to Rush. Rush was definitely a lot more competitively, I don't even know the word, structured or something, right? It was more competitive in terms of every life is valuable all the time. Alpha at number 3, I kind of touched on him already. Edison for number 2, yeah, definitely the best NA player, especially later on. You know, there's nothing else to say. He won MVP for BF Mena. Debatable, but I think it's debatable whenever someone, just to expand on that, I think it's debatable when any player wins MVP who wasn't in the final at least, or on the winning team. I usually go for the best player on the winning team. So that's why that might explain who the player I went for later, right, when you talk about my list. A bit of a spoiler, but yeah. So yeah, that's it on Edison really. And then he picked Saint as the best player, which I thought was quite interesting. When he again, I don't want to be a massive hater. It's just kind of what I was thinking in my head. I was just confused about versatility. I agree with 100%. He could play a mixture of classes at a really high level, right? Assault, not really scout. I don't really ever see him play scout. To be fair, he had scouts on his team when he was playing and stuff. Or that just wasn't viable for T5, right? So obviously playing assault and medic and support at a high level. Gun skill really good. All Battlefields again. Not sure that's really relevant, but it is what it is. I kind of get what he means with Battlefield 4. I know he played that a lot. I think he was very good on Battlefield 1, I think, for a little bit as well, at least on pubs. But yeah, I'm not sure about the entirety thing. I guess that's kind of the same thing with a guy like Ash. Maybe it was just like it's kind of inconsistent. Like I still remember season 1, right, where he was playing for half of the season and then stopped playing, and then we went on to win the ESB season 1 anyway. So like that kind of thing to me sort of makes me go, like, it makes me sort of question that ranking. But again, I'm just sort of speaking off the top of my head. Really, this isn't really super planned or anything, and it's not meant to be a personal thing. It's just it's kind of how things unfolded at the time. I think Saint's like a super good player, but I think the mental side of it, I don't think he's as dedicated as other players are. And maybe that's because he's got an actual life. That's fantastic. But when it comes to a video game and you dedicate as much time as you can, I'm not sure Saint's that guy who's always hopping on, playing his ass off every day sort of thing. That's kind of where my criticism would lie if I had to find a fault. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Now I just wanted to do some honourable mentions because these are the kind of players that I haven't put in, that weren't in Jordy's top 10 list and stuff. I just kind of wanted to expand. So, you know, I wanted to mention some guys from Chaos like Naxa and Patra. You played with Strangers of Candy. Sorry, Naxa played with Strangers of Candy as well earlier in ESB. Lapa, Jukes for that team. Phantom should be on there as well. I'm not sure why he's not. I think I forgot. Raids. all those kind of guys. Actually really good at the end, especially like Bean and Itachi and stuff, and obviously Nick. Honestly, actually no, Ancola and Eddie, they were all good. They were all very good, I think, and I respect them because they're all legit players who stuck as a team, built chemistry, played hard. They were one of the more cohesive teams, right? Where like if you got a kill, you'd expect a trade most of the time, and that's when you know they're a good team, right? That's when they're actually playing off of each other, and I really do respect that. Like, they haven't got like a superstar player on their team, but they're all very good, and that can cause a lot of issues if you're not a coordinated team, and you have to sometimes just use pure firepower to beat them, right? So that kind of thing. Same with Law. You guys can read the Middle Eastern players, like I said, that were worth a mention, like Magic and Al Prince. Like, I didn't like playing against them, but they were difficult to beat, right? B&D was probably like my hardest player to kill out of nowhere. Like, I just hated playing against him. I just couldn't kill him. I'm not sure if that's connection or what. I know he played obviously medic, and that wasn't really my role, but yeah, madness. And then the Volcane guys that played for quite a few ESB seasons and got some good stats on their website. And then other sort of guys that weren't really categorized into a team, or I could think of their team. Probably like Exceed and CS and all these kind of guys. Skyway Negative. Carboniz, I think, played for VTG in Season 2, got a lot of kills. Asya, same for him. And Magic Ziggy, Mad, Fury Terrorist, Miko, Tribe Dom, Aimer Ollie and Mando. And there's so many I haven't mentioned, but just go with me because I can't do everyone. I'll try my best. And obviously some of the bigger guys as well for Season 1. So I thought those guys were worth mentioning, just in case. If your name was read off, then you have to give me a like, just because I shouted you out. So yeah. Next, just for some context, ESB website unfortunately only has ESB Season 1 and 2, not 3 and 4 on their website for the player rankings and stuff. To be fair, I don't think they carried on in Season 3. I think they worried people were too focused on them, or they couldn't be asked to, because it's a huge job tracking stats. It really is. And I don't blame them at all. But this is the Season 1 player rankings. This is just organised, sorted in pure kills. How many kills did you get over the season? So obviously if you played more rounds, then you get more kills. So it actually kind of damages people who played less rounds if they dominated, for example. But to be fair, no one really dominated in Season 1. It was quite close between the top 3 teams most of the season. Obviously you got Yonkers, Jordy, Clay, Bazami, Alpha, Ash, Denise, Frantic, and Bergie, Skeptical Milk. So yeah, you kind of get the same sort of players mentioned, and the same pretty much for BF5 Season 2. So guys got guys like Ridicavo, cracked 1,000 kills, what a madness. Jubs, Carbonez, Jordy, Sam, Dr. Mike, Seek, Alpha, Me, and Ishmael. So yeah, for TMP. So yeah, you kind of see the sort of names that are kind of consistent in this list. There's some names which come up over and over again, so you kind of get the gist. So I can kind of, just for a bit of context, if you wanted to see any sort of player index or anything like that to back up what's going on here, it's not just coming out of nowhere. It's generally it's usually the best players on the best teams. For Season 2, I know I was on this team, but you can sort of see by the rounds won, rounds lost statistic. If you can see in the middle column, 71-1, it was pretty dominant for PLG that season. So yeah, for that season it was very much in their favour. So this is the results from ESB Season 1, T5 Season 2, T5 Season 3, T5, and then Season 4, T4 Rush. So you can kind of see generally the consistent trend that PLG was the team who won all 4 of them, which is kind of insane actually. That they beat 4 separate teams, obviously Exceed in Season 1, Law Season 2, Tribe Season 3, and Chaos Season 4. So and I was on those 2 losing teams in the final, but those are obviously the finalist roster, as in the team who came second. The winner roster, obviously the team that won. So you can kind of see the consistency from some players. So like Alpha for PLG won Season 1, won Season 2, won Season 3. Denise as well won Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. Neither of them played Season 4, which kind of shows you how deep PLG's roster is, right? When you've got like, oh, Alpha can't play, let's put Chubbs in. Oh, Denise doesn't want to play, let's put Max Seek in as scout. Like, you know, most teams don't have that kind of versatility. So yeah, which is one of the reasons they won all 4 of them, obviously, as well as just having very good players. Jordy, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4. So again, another 3-time winner of ESB in these smaller game mode ones. Because, oh yeah, I don't know if I need to specify, but this is obviously smaller game mode ones. I wasn't thinking about ESB T8s and stuff. I don't think Jordy was either, to be honest with you. I don't think that's what he was thinking about, but he might have been. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about like small modes, because I feel like they're kind of a separate thing really for BF5, because T8 was such a different mode with tanks and stuff. It's just like, it's not really comparable. Then you start talking about tankers and who's the best repair bitch and that kind of stuff. So Any other things to point out really is just, you know, the sort of rosters that got into the final and stuff. Obviously the Law team, the Exceed team, even the Tribe team. So that's kind of the weird thing. It's kind of like the it's basically a Chaos team, what became a Chaos team with Seaguy and Blau obviously playing in that final. It's a slash because they played different maps. And yeah, you can kind of see, so obviously Ash played season 1 and then played season 3, came second and first, which is kind of one of the reasons why I'm talking about inconsistent play. Same for Saint, really. Played season 3 and 4 and won both of them. So both of the ones he played, he won, but didn't play all 4 or 3. So yeah, that took me a while just to get the like the rosters and the placements and stuff for these different ESB seasons. But that's basically what it's based off. So all of these names, not all of them are in the ranking. I could probably do that if I could be asked, but all the players who have played in those finals are here, just so you can kind of see what was going on at those times if you weren't there, or if you were there and you needed your memory jogging. There it is. So this is the spicy bit, right? So I'm doing this based off what I've just shown you, the rankings, right? The rankings, as in the placements from those ESB things, are in this list. So in brackets, you can see next to the names of the rankings, you've got 1-3 / finals 3, as in they went to 3 finals and they won 3. So Jordy won every final he went to. Same for Alpha, same for Denise, same for Saint, same for Jubs. And then it's ranked in that chronological order. The reason why Jordy is above Alpha is above Denise. Jordy won season 1 MVP. Season 2 MVP went to Jubs, so that's why he is above Alpha and Denise in that sense. And then Alfred, I mean, I don't know how to actually separate them in that way. It's just whatever. So if you're going to do it, my point of this is if it was based purely off record in ESB in these 4 seasons, this would be what the list looks like, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can see why certain players are above other players. So Saint 1-2 was in 2 finals. Ash 1-1 was in 2 finals, right? So that's why Saint would be above Ash. Hopefully that makes sense. That's just a visual representation of if we were doing it purely on record, that's what the top, 12 in this case would look like, because obviously I've put myself in, which I shouldn't have done, but I just wanted to sort of see where I fell out of pure interest. And then Ghost and Ash were separate. They were together on Jordy's one. So hopefully that makes sense. And then, I mean, Killer and Edison didn't play in ESB, so and Deagle did, and he got to a final. Hopefully that makes sense, where they are and stuff. Now, here we are. This is my actual ranking. Finally got there. So this is in my opinion, in terms of best overall player out of these players that were on that ranking list, these are the best players. I haven't put myself in there for obvious reasons. A, because it would be biased, and B, because it's not really about me. It's just generally about the kind of players in ESB. It's kind of interesting to talk about in general. So I feel like we'll go from bottom to top. Sorry, I haven't been consistent with the finals won and finals attended thing. I should have deleted that, but it is what it is. So I guess again the reasons for Denise was kind of what I touched upon before. You know, the one role thing. Again, you got to split hairs with these really good players. Like, it's not an insult to be, in my opinion, the 11th best player in ESB. Like, that's really good. Jubs is French. Don't need to say anything else. Deagle, yeah, I guess it's just the thing that he went to a final, lost it, didn't win anything in ESB. The region thing, that isn't applied for Deagle, just ignore that. I meant that for Edison. Ignore that. Ash, again, we kind of discussed this, was the playing time, but Ash is the sort of guy where I don't know if I've ever had really... I mean, I don't know if there's any other player that I'd rather have on my team than him, like off the bat, to start a team, like in terms of like pure trust and chemistry and stuff. So he's low. He's lower than where I could have put him, right? If that makes sense. For me personally, for my own personal bias. Obviously, I am biased, but that's kind of... I was trying to be as objective as I possibly could, but Ash has beat Deagle a lot, so you've got to... Edison, again, just the lack of team success. Very good player, but part of that is the region thing. The fact he can play in ESB, that obviously is a huge factor. But it's difficult to say in an ESB best player list. If I mean, you could argue he should be lower just on that, right? If Ash has won 1, if Jubs has won 1, if Denise has won 3, then you could put Edison at the bottom technically. But in terms of these players, in terms of pure how good I think they are in overall as a player, I would say Edison's 7. Frantic. It's really hard to criticize these kind of guys now. It really is. But if I came up with just team play, only because this isn't even when I was teaming with him, it was just playing against him. Sometimes I noticed that like he wasn't playing necessarily like in a tradable position. Frantic's kind of like the flank guy. He comes out with like miracle 2 pieces and stuff, but that can't always be guaranteed to work, and that's literally the only sort of knock I can really think of, as well as just not having the same amount of success as the PLG guys above, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Alpha sort of thing, honestly, if I was to give Alpha any advice, not like he asked for it, but who asked, you know what I mean? But I just think, because it's in the same way that I've played loads of different roles, if an Alpha's played loads of different roles, I would just recommend to him, like, just stick to one role and just refine it as much as you can and become the best version of that player as you can. Obviously, if you want to win, you've got to be flexible. So it's really a balancing act between, do you want to be known as the best player or do you want to win as much as you can? Only some people can do both, right? Only a select few. So a lot of people, like me as well, have to sort of think about, do I want raw stats and numbers and be considered better than other players, or do you want to actually kind of win and fit into a team system, right? So that's the kind of thing for Alpha. Saint, again, I think I've kind of touched upon this, but it's just playing time. I think if he played all 4 seasons, he would have carried on playing season 1. I'm sure we would have won that final with him on the team. And 2, 3, 4, yeah. A very good player, just didn't play as much as he could. Ghost, he's French, but I in terms of these kind of players, like especially for the top probably 4, I'd say actually, like it's one of those players that you're not scared to play against, but you're like, oh shit, we're playing against that guy. We need to actually compensate properly, right? So, I mean, you compensate for all of these guys. Don't get me wrong, but like in terms of like, right, that's probably their best player. Which is why against like a PLG team like in Season 4 where they've got both Jordy and Saint, it's really difficult because you've got to focus on both of those guys and Alpha, right? Which is why it's difficult being a team like PLG is, because they've got so many good players on the same team that you've got to outplay simultaneously, right? That's kind of my point. So, but I think Ghost is one of those players where I'm glad he was on my team for Chaos because he was the best medic in the game at that time. For BF Mena, for example, I think he was the best. Obviously, this isn't about BF Mena. But yeah, just insane. Sort of like in terms of like peak performance for a single game, like Ghost is really up there, which is why I've rated him so highly on this list. But again, it's really close between Alpha, Saint and Ghost, honestly. And you could justify Killua not being up there, but he was also one of those guys where it's like, fuck it, like this is going to be a difficult game to win, right? So yeah. Couldn't really compete because being in the Middle East and the ESB's rules on that and stuff. But and then guess what? Who? Big surprise. The kind of widely sort of recognised best player in the game in Battlefield 5 was Jordy. Obviously played with him for a while. And played against him, like he said. And in terms of just an all-round player, in terms of aim, positioning, movement, being a rat, being aggressive, playing slow, being able to play different roles, teams playing around him, just reading situations, prioritizing targets, consistency, playing the game consistently, not just consistency in terms of his slaying, but in terms of just playing the game, knowing all the spots, coming up with new guns in the meta and stuff. You could go on. So I think all round Jordy's the best player. But I just put, in terms of the only thing I can really think of is just working on his in-game leadership and stuff. Difficult obviously to do right now when there's no really games going on, but I think at times he could become a bit frustrated, either with himself or the other team or his teammates, and focus less on the shooting and stuff, which is one of the only ways you could really beat him and his teams, was just if he sort of got pissed, which is kind of a bit of a tactic the only tactic you can really employ is just to try and get under their skin a little bit, because if he's super comfortable, then he's going to obviously slay out. But yeah, so I think if you can work on his communication a bit more and his team play, in terms of sort of bouncing off each other, then I think, to be fair, I think he's does that really well on PLG, but I think it's taken some time to sort of develop. I mean, he's played with so many different players over the years. I assume he's going to sort of think about, being a bit more of a one-man army than a sort of, he doesn't really have like a duo or anything like that, you know what I mean? He's a bit more of a one-man show, so I guess that's what he could work on. But if it's working so far, then you can't really criticize. So yeah, hopefully guys, that was an interesting video talk. Let me know what you think. Everyone's gonna be pissed. Try not to dislike too hard. You can't even see it anymore. I'm kind of thinking that YouTube did that just for me and my videos, which was very nice of them. I'm joking, obviously, but yeah, convenient. But drop a like if you like this, and maybe it might inspire me to do more videos in the future about Battlefield, because I haven't obviously done that in a while. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a good time, and make sure you go watch Jordy's video that I'm talking about, and maybe go watch part 1 as well, best player rankings, where I did a bit more talking about sort of honourable mentions on all that kind of stuff before, which no one listened to and everyone ignored anyway. But if you really care about it, then go have a watch. Thank you guys. I'll see you probably in the next one. Who knows when that is? We'll see. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see everyone in the future sometime. Sign